Okay, going live. Never know. Let me hold on a second. Give me a second. Do I sound weird? Waiting. Waiting for sound to come through. There we go. Okay, so apparently when I click the go live button, it does not go live immediately. It takes a little bit of time for the stream, the recording that happens on my computer to get pushed up to YouTube. So I need to make sure, I need to give myself like 5 seconds of dead air time between clicking going live. Maybe I'll just, yeah, I'll figure that out in some other time. How's it going? I've got, just came in today, a nice new face shield for me. I like this as an alternative to face masks. You know, you got to take care of everybody's health here, so face masks are a good option. I'm going to try out face shields for, you know, this isn't about testing or anything, and obviously don't take my advice for any of this, but I'm actually not going to wear this too long. But what am I trying to say? That don't take any of my advice, but I've looked into it. My dad kind of pointed me this way, and face shields seem like a pretty good option for lower risk scenarios, like going grocery shopping and stuff. It's actually not as high risk as, and this is again just what I'm saying. Do your own research and feel free to disagree with everything. But from what I found, grocery shopping is less risky than going to a bar for extended periods of time, or being in close contact with people for extended periods of time. So because of that lower risk, you still want to provide some protection. And I found face shields should allow you to do that while also being a lot easier to breathe in and being more comfortable to wear. Masks are not the most comfortable things to wear, but I should say the CDC does not say that does not recommend wearing face shields over face masks. So do take that into consideration. Again, do your own research and listen to the experts. And I am not an expert. I am just somebody who makes my own decisions. And so that's one of the decisions I've made. It's legal in my city. We do have a mandatory mask law, and face shields are an acceptable alternative to it. So all that being said, I'll give a quick review of this. It's by the folks at InstaShield. I don't know if you can see that there. It says InstaShield. And you can buy a 5-pack for like $15. It goes on the bill of your cap. It fits pretty well. Not fantastic, but as long as you're not messing with it too much, it fits pretty well. The coverage is really, really good. All around the mouth. It has these things on the side. Protects your eyes very well, which masks do not protect your eyes. That's one of my big concerns with it. Also, with the face shield on, you can do things like, it's a little weird, but, well, not with this, but if you have a straw, you can sip with the straw while having it on. Or if you have a long neck bottle, you can still drink with it on. So that also offers more protection. Also, you're not messing with it as much and sorts of things like that. Anyway, let's get to it. Why don't... Oh, that's where live chat is. If you're joined in, say hi on live chat. Oh, okay. What are we looking at on the screen? I was going to say on the right, but you only see one screen, not both of them. Let's see. So this is actually from an article I ran across recently. Let me see if I can pull it up. And we're going to go there. Load. Or are you not loading? That's weird. That did not load at all. Load. Oh, I wonder if I throttled my network. I bet I did. This happens sometimes when... Oh, no, I'm fully online. That's weird. Anyway, it loaded this time. So we've got, I ran across this article, and basically it's this idea. There's this game out there that's pretty basic game called 1 to 50. You click in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you try to click up to the number 50 as fast as you, and do it as fast as you can. So the challenge is, can we actually automate that test? So using not manual clicking, but like the WebDriver IO click command, can we do that? So this is the article. It goes into details, but if you look at the code itself, which is what I have here, it's going to use a standalone instance of WebDriver IO, so not run through the test runner, just through standalone. We create a new remote endpoint. We'll call it browser. We have to use awaits here because it is standalone, so it doesn't have the test runner and the sync package in place. But we go to the URL, and really this doesn't need that timestamp on it. It'll automatically be generated. Then we loop through from 1 to 51, so basically 50 loops. We get the div that has the text of ID, or of 1 or whatever number we are on the loop, and we get that replaced here. So basically text of 1 or 2 or whatever I is at the time, and then we click that element, and then we go to the next element and just loop through, and then at the very end we can get the level, and it'll tell us how long it took to play through this. So let's try this out. Node, and have it run here, and you should be able to see it run. It needs to be on the right screen. So it's going to load. It's going to be a little bit slower because I've got my recording on. So you see here it's trying to click that element, and it's not finding it. Let me go back, because I did make some modifications. I wonder if I broke something, and I'll try that again. It might be delayed because everything's running a little slow. The other issue is that there is a 1 up here, and so it might try and click that one. That wouldn't be good. Let's see. Come on, you can load. There we go. It's starting to click. You see the numbers are clicking and everything like that. Oops. And when it's finally done, hi Deepu. It gives you the total time it took. So speedy, top 5%. That's not bad. Normally this takes about 3 to 6 seconds. My voice is breaking. Uh-oh. Why would it? Oh, I have noise suppression on, or the microphone is too close. Let's try a few things. I'm gonna change my noise suppression level to not be as suppressed. Okay, I changed that. Let me know if it's still causing trouble. Okay, so then it tells you the result. So pretty basic script. I thought it was really clever to do that. And one of the things that they did in this script was ran this in the Chrome driver dev tools. So here the title of the article is Chrome dev tools, and then WebDriver. Okay, cool. So it sounds like the voice is fixed. It's I'm trying noise suppression because I've got my air conditioner right behind me, and so it can be kind of loud. Let me know if there's a fair bit of background noise in the stream as well. Still working on trying to get everything set up. The problem is I can't hear myself while also talking. Even though I have headphones on, it was just for music for myself. Anyway, so they ran this in using the Chrome DevTools protocol, which is what WebDriver IO version 6 uses by default. You might be familiar with that because that's what Puppeteer uses. And so this is a change. Usually, or previously, WebDriver IO used some WebDriver, hence the name WebDriver IO, by default. And you can see it would send WebDriver protocol to the WebDriver proxy, which would be something like Selenium. And then that would send the commands to the browser itself. With Chrome DevTools, they've allowed you to send commands directly to Chrome through their DevTools protocol. So in the version 6 upgrade, they switched from using WebDriver by default to using Chrome DevTools by default. And so one of the comparisons that you can do is how long does it take for it to run using DevTools, which here they got it to 0.85 seconds. I actually have only gotten it to 3 seconds. It's not that fast for when I was running it, but then you switch over to WebDriver. So you start a WebDriver. Basically, this is a Selenium hub, but you could just do Chrome Driver as well, a Chrome Driver instance, and you update your host name and path to fix that. And you see the result is about 3 seconds slower. And for me, it went from 3 seconds to about 6 to 7 seconds. So there's definitely a difference here between Chrome DevTools. Does seem to be faster, which makes sense because it is a direct connection compared to having to go through the WebDriver proxy. So that was kind of a neat little other part of that test. So I wanted to mention that, and then I talk about like different ways. So actually, let's talk about that real quick. Because I spent time on it, and so I want to get some credit for it. Here, they're using a text selector, so they're looking for a div with the text of that value. I actually looked at the code, so we go to the game. Hopefully this doesn't slow things down too much. Well, I guess if you're not playing the game, it doesn't slow things down too much. Although they do have ads on the page that can slow things down. But when you're playing the game, it's got the timer going and it's got this loop going that is pretty slow. So we'll go back to here to our elements. And one thing that I noticed is when you inspect your element, you have a z-index on this span. And then notice that z-index of 99. If I go to number 2, that z-index of 98. If you want to guess what number 3 is at, it's a z-index of, once it loads, 97. So basically, as you go higher in your numbers, you take 100 minus whatever number. And if you actually look at the code itself, let's see if I can find that code. Here you go, page. Inspect into the JavaScript. We've got the app code here. This is minified, so we can hit pretty print. And it makes it a lot easier to read. Here is where they build the HTML. And if we scroll over, you see there's that z-index. And it really is just 100 minus the index of whatever number it is. The other thing you can notice in here is they have their touch start event that basically starts the timer. And then a touch end event, which handles the check to see if the text of that is equal to the level, then, and text is equal to level, and is equal to this. I think it runs the A function. The level is less than 50, increase the level. Another question about COBOL. Man, I swear I get some questions about, will I be porting my code over to COBOL? I'm not aware of a automation tool for COBOL. Sorry, I think the market is there. Dude, capitalize on it. Mr. Gilbert? Is that how you pronounce the name? Gilbert? Gilbert? like a GIF, a Gilbert, Mr. Gilbert. Somewhere in here, there's function. See, I was wondering if you could just run this function directly and pass in, I don't know, just a different way of hacking it. Is some place. I'm trying to figure out in the code where you actually finish, like complete it. I can't find where you actually complete it. So once you get to level 50, it says, hey, you're done. Redirect result page? Maybe C. Maybe that's what's going on. Will it run on your Nintendo? What type of Nintendo? Like original Nintendo? N is equal to function. No, what's C? It's somewhere something called C. Oh, right here. So if E is less than 50, update the score, otherwise called the C function, which clears the interval and redirects you to the result page. Now, I know this isn't automation, but I find it interesting. Ha! Oh, that's weird. What did that do? Yeah, there's a... Anyway, so you could call that function and everything like that. But because my computer is just slowly dying with that website and the ads on it. Oh my god, ads ruin everything. That I'm gonna skip past it. But I thought that was neat. And oh, I was saying that you could use that z-index to get to the node, but I was still having trouble with it. So basically you would do something like, we'll use an attribute selector. So we'll say, that's the attribute selector. So we want an element with a z or style equals z index of not 99 here because we want it to be dynamic. So I'll take that there. I'm going to replace, oh man. So use backticks so that I can use string interpolation and do 100 minus I. So as I increases, it's going to decrease the z-index. So that's another way of getting that span. Yes, there is much, the backup singers are allowed today. Yeah, much chorus from the balcony above. She did not take her nap, so she is a bit fussy, which is why this live stream isn't going to last more than another hour, because I need to help with that. Okay, that was that. I'm going to close out of that. Don't save. Don't save. On my book, I've been looking at, let's go to WebDriver IO. I've been doing a fair amount of rework on it, which I didn't want to do, but I also want to do because it's super cool. Over here, where can you buy my book? What a great question. Hold on, snip book. You know how to ask the right questions on LeanPub. You know, if I were a marketing genius, I wouldn't have to have people ask me questions such as that. But my internet's real slow because I'm hogging it all up with the stream. I used to have a 2-computer setup, and it was a lot better, but I don't anymore. Anyway, you can, my suggested price is $25, thanks to feedback from viewers like you, but you can crank that down and only pay $15 if you'd like, if you don't have the money, which I totally understand. But book covers all sorts of stuff, including, soon to include, the new assertion library that came with WebDriver IO version 6, which allows you to do things like expect button to be displayed, because you used to, if I go back to my code, let's get a basic test. So let's look at this one, expect something not to be existing. Before, you'd have to do expect is existing to be false, because we're expecting it not to be false. And then the other thing, so I have my element that I'm selecting. So I'll do, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. So I have my element, and then I'm going to check is existing on it, and then I'm going to set it to be false. One big issue with this is if it fails, then the message you're going to get is expected true to be false. That is not a helpful error message at all. So you would come in, or I would come in, and I'd say element should not exist. And then if this were to fail, you would get expected true to be false, element should not exist. That helps you a little bit. You could say something like, if this was a error message, then you could say error message should not exist. So now you at least know. And then you would have a lot of these. So you would expect some other element to be true, and then you would have to do expect other should exist, and that would basically be very necessary, because if you did have a failure in here and you had multiple that you expected them to be true, or multiple where you expected them to be false, then you would it'd be really frustrating to have to try and dig in and figure out where all that is. So that's why you had to put the error messages in. But error messages were annoying, because if you had like 5 of these, you'd have to do them for each of them, and they're almost the same. And then, okay, well, I'm expecting, let's go back to here. So I want to create a new one. I duplicate it, but here's the thing. I don't want it to be true. I mean, I want it to exist. And so I need to change that to true. Now I need to go change that to be not exist. And then it's just a lot of back and forth and back and forth. So if I erase all that, now we have this cool new assertion where we can say here, expect the element not to be existing, or we could just do to be existing. And now when you get an error, if I jump over to my notebook, there, oops, 2, that's what I wanted. And I go to 2.1, it's where I actually start talking about the assertion. Is it 2.1? Yeah, it is the assertion. So here I have expect browser to have URL, and here's another example, expect browser to have title. So if you want to see all of the assertions, you can go to not there. There we go. The expect API document. And in that document on the right side are all the assertions you can have. So we have a to have title. And that's what I've got here. Expect browser to have title of conduit. And so before, you'd have to do expect browser.get title to equal. So that was your assertion before. And it worked pretty much the same, but if you compare these two error messages, this is the one with the browser get title to equal, it says it'll give you expected and actual. So the expected title was conduit, and the actual title was the wrong title. However, if we use this new assertion library, it helps you. It says expect window to have title. So now you know we're looking at the title, not just two random text values. And then it'll tell you the expected and the received, which it's just, I think that helps a fair bit more than what you would really expect it to. So that's why I want to have this update to include all this. And part of that update, and just before I get onto that, if we buy your, have a question, if we buy your book now, will we receive free updates as you add more content and code? A resounding yes to that. Once you buy the book, LeanPub has an option where you can get email updates, and I do send email notification updates with kind of a changelog for what's going on or what changed. And it'll have, you can re-download the content, and it comes in PDF, it comes in EPUB, it comes in whatever other formats there are. And yep, free updates. I'm at 95% on the book. I don't know if that, yeah. You can see I put it at 95%. This is my best guess at it. All the content is there. I'm going in now and fixing up, updating it to be more up to date, basically, and then cleaning up the code examples, cleaning up some of the styles on it, some of the way it's formatted can be better. So you can get it today, and whenever there's an update, if you're subscribed, you'll get emails about it. Otherwise, you can check. You don't have to get emails. You can just check it yourself and download it for free. That's all through LeanPub. They do a really good job, so that's why I went with them. Back to all of this. One big change in the book that I want to talk about is I actually had a big section, and this is why I haven't gotten an update for the book out lately, is because this rework is making me kind of reevaluate a lot of the content that I have in the book already, because it's not necessarily needed anymore. So one of the things that I had here was, let's go to the book outline. Oh, it's not in here, but and it's not in the table of contents. It was using Chai.js. Chai.js is an assertion library, and so I was having them load, or I was walking you through having to load Chai.js, and that would, you'd have to install it, then require it, and I actually came to the conclusion that you don't need Chai.js. You can use this assertion library for everything you want. And if there is something that it doesn't cover, which there are some things that it doesn't cover, you have all of the matchers available through, this says Jest, but Jest uses, darn, I was hoping it would be here. A NPM repo called ExpectJS. They use ExpectJS. That's what this library uses, is ExpectJS. And so you get all of the matchers, all of the assertions from expect. So basically this entire page, you have all of these, which is what Chai provided, are basically very similar to this. So these kind of things. So now you have all of those from the expect library, plus all of the assertions defined here. Now you can use Chai still with WebDriver IO and the expect library, but I don't think it's necessary. Unless you have some very specific use case that you want, I don't think it's necessary, and so I've taken it out of the book. But that means I need to go through the entire book, like in section 2.7. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so here I have this Chai expect. So I need to go in, I need to delete that, and then I need to go in and change all of these to be And yeah, see, I have site header, site footer, and I didn't even put the full thing in there because I didn't even want to mess with it. But now I can go in and set that to be existing. And I'm going to undo that change. But look at the comparison between these two. This is so much cleaner, so much nicer, and you don't have to have a message. But you can actually still have a message, I think. Oops. Wasn't there... Yeah, you can pass in a message if you want, which can be helpful in some cases. Anyway, so I have to go through this entire book, and here's another instance, and update all of the code examples to no longer have that. Here is an example of a time where we wouldn't use the expect WebDriver IO matcher. We want to use one of the jest matchers to basically compare two arrays. You have an array of feed tabs text, and you want to compare it to this one. Thankfully, that's as easy as to equal. So that'll be updated when the time comes. So yeah, been working through those updates to get that going. Let's do a detour away from the book to another topic. Bear with me for a second. And this is one thing that I actually want to do more of is I'm signed up for notifications on Stack Overflow for anything tabbed to WebDriver IO. So when somebody asks a question, and the big thing is, do I have time to answer it? Only if I have time to answer it, which is not very often. Hold on a second. Actually, yeah, so if I have time to answer it, I'll try and find some time for it. But I do plan on kind of talking to these because I think these are great real-world examples of real-world issues that people run into. So for this one, how do you fetch text of a specific element of a table in WebDriver IO? So they've got a table, 10 rows, 4 columns. They're trying to get the text of the first column and put it in an array using WebDriver IO. And they have this little loop here. I don't know what they do with number of rows. They really don't need that. But they have an array, and they want to get, the very first item, the text of the first column, and put it into an array. And they're getting get text of undefined. So somebody answered it. It looks like they're missing a not a paragraph, parentheses. And that could be it. The reason why I wanted to mention it here is because they can improve this a little bit to not have this quite as verbose and to be a little bit better. So let me see. Let's go to the internet, right? Okay, and then they have a table. And so say I want to get the first column here. How do we do that? And this is something that comes up pretty often. So let's see. I'm going to install the CLI, the WebDriver IO CLI, and I'm just going to create a quick demo here. You know, one thing that is new with WebDriver IO is that in theory you should be able to run it from within the browser itself. Since it is using Chrome DevTools, it should be able to make commands go to Chrome itself and run it. So that would be really nice, because then you wouldn't have to go through this whole installation, especially when your computer is really slow. And it takes a long time to install stuff. Oops. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to do npx WDIO config. This is going to create a config file with all the defaults set in place. Of course, everything's taking a little bit longer. While that waits, I'll show you another neat trick I've learned. So we want to get that TD cell. One thing we can do is we can do Command F or Control F to search, and you can actually use a selector in here. So I can do ID table 1. So that matches this table 1. I don't know why it's highlighting that code up there. And then we want the T body, the TD, TR, and then TD of first child. Oh. And now that's going to return us 4 different items. And so, yeah, that's a way, you know, we don't have a class on there. In this example, they do have a class, but I'm not certain that that's the only element in that, the only TD element there that has a class of that. So what they might need to do is use this first child. So if I didn't have first child there, it would actually get all of the TDs. Bonus points for anybody who can tell me what TD stands for. That's my emoji picker popping up every time I do a colon. It pops up with emojis. Yeah. So first child says the first child of the parent element, which this is the first child. This is the second child, third child, so on and so forth. There's also, I think there's a last child. Yep, last child. And then there's nth child. Whoops, what happened there? And you can be the first, the second, third, fourth. There's also like nth child of type. There's a ton of selectors, and they all work inside of automation. So be aware of that. Okay. Back to our example, let's go and write some tests for this. So we're going to make a directory, test specs. Oops. I have to use the -p flag because it's nested directories. Test spec. Sure. We will copy over. Some stuff should get first column. And what we want to do is go to the URL. Then we're going to use double dollar signs because we want to get all elements that match. This is going to return an array of 5 different elements. Or sorry, 4 elements because there's 4 rows. We are going to use the map function, which map walks through that array and it returns an array. On that, we're going to go with texts. Oh, I did that wrong. There we go. And this is actually something I end up doing a fair bit, is I get an array of elements, I map them onto a new array. So you can really think like mapping is, I look at one item over here, and then I think, how do I want to transform that item? And I map it over to my new array of items. That's how you can think of mapping, and I think that's where they came up with that term. So as you're going through a map, there's a function. I'll make it a little bit longer. That takes the item. So here the item is going to be that TD, which stands for table data, not total destruction. And TR does not stand for temporal ratio. It stands for totally reliable. So we take the TD and we are going to return the result of get text from that element. So we have multiple elements. We walk through each element and return the text that gets put onto the text array, whatever you want to name that array. The shorthand for that is to use a fat arrow function. And with that function, you don't need to say, oops. You don't need to type in function on it. You don't have to put parentheses if you only have a single argument or parameter. You do your fat arrow. You don't need to have the curly Q braces. You don't have to have a return statement. It's implied. You don't have to have the braces at the end. So it's a bit shorter, more verbose. No, less verbose, more concise. And then we can do console log tech. Oh my gosh. Now we do npx WDIO, and let's hope it runs. We should get Smith, Bach, Doe, Conway. We did not. What did I do wrong? I misnamed my directory. Try that. I don't know if that command actually worked. Looks like it did. So it's going to load the page. There we go. And here's that array. This reminded me of something. One thing about this new library is that it waits for you, which caused me a lot of grief because one big part of my book is a section talking about how important it is to wait for things. So if, let me think. WebDriver by default waits for the page to load. So as long as that little icon is spinning up here, it's not going to run your test. As soon as the icon, or not the icon, as soon as the page has loaded, then it knows that it can run the test. That's great. But there are many times when you take actions where I need to log out, where it doesn't actually reload the page. Here's one example. So if I throttle my network to slow and I enter some incorrect data, I'm going to click sign in. Notice how it's not spinning up here, but it is running that request. So WebDriver wouldn't know that it's doing something. It would check to see if an error message showed there, and then it wouldn't show there because it hadn't done the full validation yet, and the test would fail. So basically the test is if I enter incorrect data, I should see an error message show. So if I wrote that, then I used to have to, let's go back to our code. let's see. Yes. So here, whoops. Put there. And our test would be, whoops. Bear with me for a second as I undo all my work. Okay, so here's my test. I get this email and let me do this so I'm not switching back and forth too much. Okay, so my email, I set the value. My password, I set the value. And yes, these are valid credentials. They actually will log you in. And that's okay. All of this gets reset over midnight, so you can't do too much damage. I mean, you could hurt my feelings. You could say mean things. You could write a mean article about me. But I'm going to log back out, go back to sign in. So I clicked sign in, and let's say I do that. And I want to do a validation. And this was actually my previous example where I'm going to comment that out for a minute. I'm going to say expect browser.getTitle. Actually, let's say get URL not to contain login. So basically on the login page, if we go back in there, that URL has login in it. When I actually do log in, sign in, that URL goes away. Now this happens really quickly, but it's not a regular page reload. It is done asynchronously through an API call. So if I have this in here, this is actually going to fail. Oh, shoot. Did it again. There. So now I'm going to run this test again. Oops. Equals login.js. So this test should fail because it's checking the URL before it's actually done the redirect. There. And what if we are like, okay, what the heck is going on there? I'm going to put in a browser debug because why did it not log me in? It says it logged me in. So we let our test run. And this is the part in the videos, like the edited videos that I comment out. Or not comment out, I cut out. Okay, so now we're like, it logged me in. It's not in the URL. What the heck? I mean, if I run... Like, let's just run browser.getURL. Okay, that's the exact URL that I'm expecting. What in the world is going on? Why is... What? And so you bang your head and you would put something like pause 1000 in there. Or in this case, something better is you wait for the sign in button to no longer exist. That's that reverse equals true. Is I'm waiting for it to exist, but psych, it's backwards. I'm waiting for it not to exist. And now, if I were to run that, it would, it'll pass. You're gonna have to trust me on that. If we look at this expect library, it will actually, it doesn't say it in here, but it's going to retry. If that assertion fails, it's going to retry that assertion a certain number of times. It's going to try it, what, 30 times? 3,000 divided by 100? So 30 times, once every 1/10 of a second, it'll retry that assertion. So if I come back in here and I say expect browser not to have URL, login, and I can say containing true. So basically don't match directly on this, just match partially. So if the URL has login anywhere in it, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but anywhere in it, then I don't need to do that. So you see this one passed because we had that wait. Now, taking that wait out, we're going to have expect browser not to have URL login containing true, and I am skipping through some of this. Hey, I explained it in the book, so maybe read the book. No, I mean do, but I'm just making funny things. If we go back here, you see it gets the URL, it still has login in it, so it waits, it goes, oh, that failed, let's try again. Nope, still failed, let's try again. Oh, it passed, great. Now we can delete the session and pass the test. So that is one of the other things about the assert library that I really love. The trouble is it made, let's go to the page. All of this content, it made it obsolete. And I was really frustrated with it until I realized that there is a way that there are still instances where you still want to wait on something. So for this one, I went with on the sign-in page, if you enter in correct details, it shouldn't show an error message. Now the problem was it doesn't automatically show an error message. Like I had mentioned before, it doesn't automatically show an error message. So it has to go through that validation step first. So if you have a slow connection, the error message won't show, even though you could do something like this, where you didn't actually enter the password and it should show an error message. So that's basically how I got to talking about waits and all that. But I did want to mention that from an assertion library standpoint, that the expect library, one of the big benefits of it is you do have that wait, built-in waits for it. And that's another part of going through all of these examples again to talk about, to basically update all of these assertions and get rid of some waits that I have. But I'm on 2.4. I just finished 2.4 yesterday with the new assertions in there. I also still do talk about using here the wait until method, because that is still valuable. And that's still valuable. And what was I going to say? Yeah, so I still want to cover it. Question: if you find a bug in the code examples, should we raise an issue in the GitHub repo or rage tweet me? Don't rage tweet at me. Rage tweet to your audience. Don't talk to the person directly. That's useless in this day and age. Just talk to your audience. That's the right way to do it. That gets the best results, I found, is not actually addressing things in person or, in private. And sadly, it's true in some cases with like companies that are so big that the normal customer doesn't have a big enough voice talking to the company directly. So but if they post on social media and they have enough followers, then they actually can have a bit of a voice. So it's good in that regard. But in personal conversations, you can just email me. My email is me@clamp.in. Right there. I'm trying to figure out how to give you the email without giving it to all the spam bots out there. But yeah, me@clamp.in. Or you can go to my website. I've got a contact page on my website. Contact. And I do know that this form works because I get spam emails all the time. And I could put something like a CAPTCHA on here, but I actually like the fact that those spam emails let me know the form is working. If I go a week without getting a spam email, I know that my form is broken and I need to fix it. So they're doing QA work for me, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's one of the better ways, is just to go to my contact site and send me a message, and I get the email and I try to respond back. But I do love getting corrections. I actually really do. This is not facetious or anything. I love getting corrections because it makes my job easier. It makes the content more valuable for you and all sorts of things like that. Give me half a second as I take a short breather. Apparently there are thunderstorms outside. How is your week going, people? Let me know. Say hi. Have you run across anything interesting? I have a newsletter. Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that. Do I have a landing page for said newsletter? I do. Go to my blog, go to any article, and down on the bottom, enter your email address. And you can get cool emails. Here's an example of one email. Content. You have to give me a second. So I used to run this a year or two ago. It was too much work to keep going steady. So I had been wanting to restart it because I do have some things I want to say about testing and all that kind of stuff. And I do think it's useful to have a email newsletter for people, but I didn't want to commit too much time to it. So I went with, I'm going to share one story. It's going to be a short story. It's not going to be 20, 30 minutes for most of the time. Here it's 3 minutes. And it's just something that I thought was kind of neat. And so here we've got a Dev2 article about start with code that scares you the most. And they kind of talk about, it's not too long, just a short article, kind of a thought on testing, how they want to test their code. So I have a quote with it, and then sometimes I'll talk about my thoughts on it, and sometimes I won't, and then I'll have a sign off at the very end and kind of stuff like that. So if you're interested in this type of email, you can go to this site, and let me see if I can post it directly. I need to work on getting a sign up page in place. I don't think I can. Hey, you can just go here. It's not branded or anything, but let me share that in the comments. You can go there and sign up. It's just that one weekly newsletter. I try to send it out on Tuesdays. I will sometimes do a promotion for like my book, or when I get my course back in place, I'll be talking about that as well. But for the most part, it's just sharing one item. So if you are interested in clogging up your email inbox with yet another email, this is your chance. Don't let it go. Do we win fabulous prizes if we share your book URL with all our followers? Yes, you win the prize of being a good person, which is not a prize that that's given out much these days. I haven't won the good person prize since I was 2 years old, and I inadvertently saved my brother from punishment from my parents by letting him blame me for spilling the milk on the dinner table. That's when I last earned that prize. It was a very selfish act that I wasn't aware that I was making, but I made it for him. he courageously put all the blame on me and allowed me the chance to win the good person prize. Unfortunately, I have failed to win that prize since, but I got my fingers crossed. I keep watching on the street to see if there's somebody that I can push out of the way of oncoming traffic. Hasn't happened yet. Probably a good thing. I'm not very fast, and by the time that I see the person run out from the front door, unlock the door because I have to unlock it, and get out there, it would probably be too late. So, yes, this is your chance. I'm giving you this chance. How are we doing on time? 4 o'clock. I've got a few more minutes. What do I want to talk about? I actually should do some real work today, aside from just talking about this kind of stuff. Let's bore you with working through updating this section. So this is going to be a little less entertaining, I think, but yeah, you can be along for the ride. So basically I need to update this to use the new expect library. This talks about kind of some thoughts. We can delete that. The other thing I need to do is go in and add a title test spec/editor.js. This helps format it a little bit. Hi, Hamil. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Okay, so the thing I need to do is get consistent tabbing. Okay, go to the login page, use our new login function, which we added. Get some consistent spacing. Don't see anything on here that would require updates. So it talks about the difference between before and before each. This is pretty handy. Has the page loaded. This seems more interesting. Yes, you need my help. Please ask away and I will see if I can help. I make no guarantees, but I can try. I guarantee I can try. In the words of Bart Simpson, I can't promise I'll try, but I'll try to try. Okay. I don't think there's anything in here. Did I spell maintenance right? Mr. Gilbert, you have to go. Yes, it is available for viewing after the live event. That is, I wouldn't do it otherwise. Also, I'm pretty sure, Mr. Gilbert, that you caught that misspelling, but I haven't gotten to your edits. Mr. Gilbert has kindly edited the book for me. And ooh, I can't spell maintenance, and there's also an extra L. So anyway, I've got all of his edits I need to go through and make sure that they're updated here, but I haven't done that yet. And so you're seeing some misspellings. Maintenance. Maintenance. You know what other word I can't spell? Is restaurant. I always spell it restaurant. That is not the right spelling of restaurant. That always gets me. Okay. Emil asks, I need videos for WebDriver IO version 6 with Appium and Sauce Labs. Oh, I don't have those. I have a site called here. This has been sitting out there for a long time, but and it does, there are some videos on my YouTube channel little bit slow to load. Oh look, I'm streaming live. I should watch that. Go to the playlist, and you go to WebDriver IO and Appium. Now, these are from 2 years ago, so, and they also contain ads. Sorry. Gotta make bank. I don't make much money from ads. Sorry. I wish I did, then I could do this full time, but not there yet. It does talk about Appium, and the thing is, it's very limited. It's only 4 videos, and it doesn't talk about Sauce Labs or anything like that, unfortunately. Man, I would love to put all these videos together. I haven't had the time, so that's why I want to get this course done, get the book done, get the course done. But maybe on the next live stream. Yes, I don't live stream on Wednesdays anymore. I used to, but Saturday's a better day for me. Cover Appium. Yeah, let's do that. Next live stream, if you bear with me for a second, I'm adding that. The next chance I get, I'll do a live stream on Appium, Sauce Labs, WebDriver IO. I bet that would get a lot of interest. So basically what I'm going to do, and confirm with me that this is what you're interested in, starting from scratch, set up a WebDriver IO project. I'm going to need, are you doing app testing or like internet or website web app testing? So installed app, or yeah, an installed app on the phone or a website. Websites are easier because you don't have to install the app, but they're also less likely that you want to be testing on that. I'm going to guess that you're doing an application. So I'm going to need a demo app to test. I think there are some out there. I'll be able to find one. If you have one, feel free to link it. But I'll show how to get get all that set up. I think Appium might have one. Oh, what a cool video. Neat. I'm pathetic. They don't have Appium on here? Maybe enter frameworks? Websites and a personal web app. Okay. Yeah, we can do both. So it'll be a full library. These are frameworks. Or not full library, full video. So cool. Can a personal web app be tested with WebDriver IO? Yeah. I think that's what PWA stands for. Yeah, you can test web apps that you install on phones. You can test both of them just fine with WebDriver IO and Appium. So this is definitely a possibility, and I will get that done. I might have to end here soon. Plus, it's about to start raining. What time is it? Okay, I still have 10 minutes. What was I going to do? I was going to go to somewhere. Oh, I forgot where I was going to go. Progressive web app. Okay, progressive web app isn't the same thing as an application installed on the phone. It's basically a website. And yeah, that's a lot easier than an app. So yeah, I'll get that set up. And I totally forgot where I was going to go. We were talking about websites, personal web apps. Oh, that's where I was going to go. Sorry, I'm a bit 2020. There is a breakpoint. Why did it do that? This event's coming up in, I don't know, 2 weeks about. And look who's going to be there. I will be presenting on WebDriver IO, an introduction to WebDriver IO, a demo of it, and the expect library and how cool that is. Also talking about a comparison between WebDriver IO and tools like Cypress and Puppeteer and Playwright, and Selenium in general. So that's what that presentation will be on. I think it might be completely free, so check that out. When will the stream be? I'm planning for it to be next Saturday about this time. So Saturday at 2, I think I want to start doing regular streams at. I can't commit to anything though because family life, can't commit to anything like that. So yeah, next Saturday at 2 p.m. Well, 2 p.m. my time, which is Central. So whatever time yours is, minus 2 hours is when I'm going to plan for it. Yes, so next week I'll try for it. Okay. Yeah, I could definitely do any website. There's a lot of PWAs out there that I can use for testing. Okay, let's finish up. Appreciate all hanging out with me today. This is my to-do list for the book. You know, still got stuff to do, but it's getting there. What are we on? 2.5. Okay, what were we doing? I need to take that out. I think we were here. We were talking about different things, snapshot testing, which is pretty cool, but we're not there yet. The new editor. So let's add the title. And I do want that to be page objects. So I'm adding these titles in here. That way they're going to go as like captions at the very top of the code snippet to make it a little bit easier for people to know where they are, what file specifically I'm editing. That's one of the things about this book is that videos are easier because you can really, you don't have to, like all this kind of stuff, like which file you're editing, it's there ready for you to read. Like it's all on the screen. Okay, so to have URL, so update that. True. Pair. The question is, can we do pair programming? I don't have anything for that set up right now. I don't really know how that would work, but I will think about it. And you know, I'll look at other people. I think other streamers out there do that sort of thing, and it's not a bad thing. I definitely am interested in it. I just haven't got that set up. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is, one of the problems with this editor is that I can't do find and replace like I want to. So instead, I'm going to bring it over to Sublime Text and do that. Oh shoot, you know the other thing I forgot? Hi from India. I have a lot of viewers who are from India, and I welcome them all. It's so cool to be able to reach such a far distance. I didn't do any real work myself. I just put it on YouTube, and now I've got people from all over the world, and that's really cool. I really enjoy it. Okay. And I need to test that this works. So I do have an editor here. The trouble with that editor is it's fully updated to everything. So I've been doing, what I mean to say is this file has like a whole bunch of extra stuff in it from later chapters. I want to run the code to make sure that it works. So /cd WDI book examples px WDIO spec equals editor test.js. Tips for any new person who started in testing. I can't say it's a good tip, but I will say what's going to differentiate you from somebody else in a good job, this isn't necessarily true for a not so great job, is the value you provide back with your tests. So not necessarily just writing tests. While it's good to write tests, tests on their own don't have a true value to them. It's by thinking through what is the value of the item that you're testing. So if you're testing like something like let's look at this page. So if I want to test this page, what's the more important functionality here? That the read more link, that you can favorite an article. Is that the most important functionality, or is it the sign up flow? Or is it the sign up flow? Or is it the popular tags? Say your popular tags breaks. That's probably not going to cause a lot of pain. It's obviously painful. You don't want functionality to go missing, but having your popular tags showing on the page is a lot less important than having your sign-in functionality work. So if you have the chance to kind of form or influence what it is that you're testing, focus on the things that provide the most value. And that way, if that thing breaks, you can come in with your testing and say, hey, this is broken. And your project manager or your product owner is going to go, thank you so much for catching this. I can't believe the pain we would have been in had this gone out to production. That would be one of my top tips. Views on manual testing. I think it's very important. I think it's very necessary. I don't think automation is going to get rid of manual testing. I think the point of automation is to take care of the easy testing, the things like I'm going to go to the sign in page and enter information and click sign in and it'll take me here. So you do that, you automate the easy stuff so that you have time for the complicated stuff. Things like dates, they are always complicated to test around. So having to write automation for that can take a long time. And this is probably another tip for you, is be careful spending too much time automating something that doesn't have a lot of value to it. So here's like dates. If the date is wrong on something, in most cases, it's going to be fine. And having to test dates and things like that can be really difficult because you have to mess with the server. You have to get a lot of information set up. So focus on what it is that brings a lot of value, and then also don't spend endless time on something that isn't going to bring a lot of value. And same thing with manual testing. You should have manual testers who take care of the difficult stuff. Another question, how are you motivated while doing manual testing? Because sometimes writing scenarios and manual testing is boring. I don't do a lot of manual testing, to be honest. I think that I find it valuable, but I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where my role on the team is to help develop the automation framework itself, not to do manual testing. So that's how I stay motivated. I help out when it's really needed, but overall I stick to automation because there's just so much work to be done on the automation side of things, that I'm able to have a role that is just focused on that. So my role is to build out frameworks that make it to when you go to write your automation, it's as easy as can be. Okay, I want to finish this up. To recap, require file, you just check their existence. It's not existence, existence. It's funny how quickly my mind sees that after the fact, but if I were to do it now, yeah. So as somebody who would have to do manual testing, I would say see if you can sneak in automation on some things to make your job easier. And you know, you do have to have that time commitment up front to write the automation and get it running. But if you're able to sneak it in without getting approval, then over the long term, it should save you time. And if you have the flexibility there in your job where you're not just completely crushed for time, you could say to yourself, I'm going to commit to do a little bit extra to get this automation in place, and that's going to save me time over the long run. And now I have this automation that I can get more done over the long term compared to just doing manual testing the entire time. You can sneak in, and I need to copy this. You can sneak in extra work to make your life easier. It's something that you should be very wary of because you don't want to make your entire life your job. That's a good way to burn out. I've dealt with burnout a ton. It's not fun. But that being said, it is your career, and you are the one in charge of your career. So if nobody's going to do your job for you, you've got to do it. Well, not to have URL. And should be containing. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Essentially, if you have the opportunity, take advantage of it, but be wary of burning out because it happens. No. Oh, I see. Hold on. Where's my login? There. This is part of the problem is this code is from previous chapters. And so I need to make sure that it's correct. Oh, I'm not even doing that anymore. Whoops. Oh, come on. That's the other problem with this software is it's too easy to get pushed around in it. Good. I hope you found the tip useful. And again, it's just my opinion. Don't put too much into it. Make your own choices. But, you know, maybe I'm not completely off target. So I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I am hoping I can get through this last bit. It does seem like we're kind of skipping through a lot of this, which is good. Makes my job easier. When I get done with this, there's going to be some with 2 spaces and some with 4 spaces. I want them all at 4 spaces because I think it's easier to read. Oh, you know the problem with 4 spaces is that it's going to break the width of the page itself is not very wide, and so that is a concern. Like, it doesn't format that great with that, but I still think the readability of 4 spaces is better than 2 spaces. But my main thing is I just want it consistent. So hopefully I can get it consistent. Okay, implement generic page object, good. That's all good. That changed. You can see here, this is the WebDriver IO version 5, but I'm no longer on version 5. I'm on version 6, and that's another update I need to make for this, is to switch it all to version 6. Okay, our team chose WebDriver, ignoring Protractor and Nightwatch because of compatibility with one code base. Oh yeah, I definitely recommend WebDriver over, like Nightwatch I don't even think works anymore. If you had a close eye on the editor test, you may have noticed this line. Oh shoot, see, this is an example where I took away that. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. The fact that, yeah. Yeah, so going back, Protractor, it was a good tool. I haven't used it in years. I don't know how much they've kept it up to date or anything, but I like WebDriver IO better than Protractor because WebDriver IO does have more flexibility from when I last used Protractor, which was 4 or 5 years ago. I loved Protractor. It kind of got me into this sort of testing, which is good because I needed it. It certainly changed my career path. But nowadays, I would say WebDriver IO because it's got so much more flexibility to it. That said, I haven't tested, I haven't used Protractor in a while. Sorry, I'm just, this editor doesn't save my location, so I have to kind of make it very apparent where my location is. Okay, so yeah, next step is, see how it didn't save my location? I gotta scroll down, figure out where that was. There. Basically, this line of code is no longer there, and so I need to figure out how to rewrite this section, which is why this is taking so long. But that's going to end it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciated it. And until next time, have fun testing, folks.